Hello! Welcome to Wolverine Fan Therapy! Hello everybody, this is Phil Kain, your host of Wolverine Fan Therapy. Wow, what a lot has gone on since we last spoke. What a game. Let's get it right into it. Michigan football with a huge victory at Penn State. An absolutely stunning, mind-numbing, frustrating, shocking, awesome, huge victory. Oh, that was truly amazing. I think it was amazing to most of us Wolverine fans because of just how shocked we were that this old school Neanderthal game plan actually worked in a meaningful road game in November in hostile territory in Happy Valley against a good Penn State team that really wanted to win. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about how Wolverine fans can get through the next 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of the schedule, with the obviously the Ohio State game looming, and then we'll talk about the rest of the schedule, a little bit about the college football playoff. But hey, to start out with today, we wanted to get into today's topic: division realignment in the Big Ten. We want to talk about the tremendous and obvious need for division realignment in the Big Ten Conference. Let's go over a little bit of history in case you don't know, or just to jog everybody's memory. With the start of the 2014 season, Maryland and Rutgers joined the Big Ten, and football was divided into two 7-team divisions, East and West. There was a Big Ten championship game for a few years before that, but this spawned, that was back when they had Legends and Leaders divisions, two 6-team divisions after Nebraska joined the conference. This is, since 2014, Maryland and Rutgers joined, they divided into East and West, and since then the East division has clearly been the far superior division, and it has now led to even further competitive problems. So let's just go over a few facts. The Big Ten championship game has been won by the East division winner every season since the league realigned into East and West divisions. The West division winner has never won the Big Ten championship. For the past 8 seasons, the Big Ten has been dominated by the East, and that does not appear likely to change anytime in the near future. So each season, we have this kind of faux Big Ten championship game, which is rarely even competitive. And basically, Ohio State's just run away with it for the past 4 seasons, just trouncing Northwestern and Wisconsin and Northwestern and Wisconsin. It's a joke, okay? And the divisions right now are a joke. The only team that's not currently in the East Division to ever win a Big Ten championship game was Wisconsin, and that was way back in 2011 and 2012. Clearly, the top programs in the Big Ten are in the East, and it's my opinion that the top 4 programs in the Big Ten East are the strongest 4 Big Ten programs year in and year out. Ohio State, it's undisputed. Penn State, Michigan State, and Michigan are the top 4 Big Ten programs. Now, I know Wisconsin fans are going to go crazy, and they're going to say, oh, that's nuts. Wisconsin's definitely in that conversation. They should be in the... Okay, fine. Even if you want to give you Wisconsin, that means that 4 out of the top 5 programs are in the East. I don't think that's the case. I think Wisconsin I would put 5th, but fine. You want to put them in the top 5. But that next tier, Iowa, Minnesota, Purdue, Indiana, Northwestern, they're not even close. They're in the next tier. Maryland, sorry, Iowa fans, sorry. But if you played in the Big Ten East and you had to play Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, and Michigan every season, you would lose a minimum of 2 to 3 Big Ten games, even when you're having an up year for your program. And for Wisconsin and Iowa fans, again, and Minnesota fans, I would argue, sorry to hurt your feelings, but I believe that part of the reason that you have up seasons every couple years is because you're playing in the Big Ten West. If you had a really decent team and you had to play Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State, and Michigan every season, 2 of those games at least on the road, you wouldn't have an up year most of those times. And evidence this year is Penn State. Penn State is a solid team. They just barely lost to Michigan in a game they probably should have won. Sorry, Wolverine fans, we probably shouldn't have even won that game. And they played a gritty, tough game against Ohio State, and they had to play at Ohio State. And then they still have to play Michigan State at Michigan State. So Penn State's schedule this year is ridiculous. They had to start the season at Wisconsin. Later, they had to play at Iowa. And then they had to play at Ohio State, and they end the season at Michigan State. They're 3-4 right now. They're probably going to end the season 4-5 overall. And now there's talk about James Franklin not being their coach anymore. So meanwhile, if Penn State was in the Western Division, I would argue they probably would win it. This disparity between these divisions is obvious, and it needs to end. And it leads to all kinds of problems. Example, again, with Wolverine fans. One of the big criticisms, things that you hear all the time about Jim Harbaugh and Michigan are that they've never played in a Big Ten championship game. Well, who the heck has? If you're in the division with Ohio State, nobody is going to play in the Big Ten championship game from the East Division anytime soon. This year is probably going to be the same thing. We're going to get into that quite a bit. Ohio State has 2 tough games left with Michigan State and Michigan, but I would say 90% chance they're probably going to be in the Big Ten championship game again. So this has become a real problem, and it needs to change. It makes the whole conference look bad. It makes it's not fair to the teams in the Big Ten East to have the 4 top programs. We don't get to display our best. It makes our conference look weaker when you have the 5th best team playing in the Big Ten championship game every season. Sometimes not even the 5th best team, maybe the 6th best team. This year is no different. I don't know how anyone could argue that Michigan State, Ohio State, and Michigan are the top 3 teams in the Big Ten right now this season in 2021, and I would argue that Penn State's 4th. So we're going to see Wisconsin or maybe Iowa in the Big Ten championship game, and that's going to be the top team against the 5th or 6th best team. It's bad. It's bad for the conference. It needs to change. All right, let's just touch. There we go. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. So, division realignment has to change. Let's talk just for a little bit, since we're on this topic of competitive disparity in the Big Ten. Look, Ohio State is playing the modern game of college football with elite 5-star players, and the rest of the Big Ten is stuck in the past. You have Purdue and some teams trying every once in a while to play a little bit of the modern game, but they don't have the athletes that Ohio State does. And if you just want to look further at the competitive disparity inside the Big Ten, which is of course emblematic of this competitive disparity throughout college football, Ohio State this weekend is playing at home to Michigan State. Michigan State and Ohio State have the same record, 9-1. They're both ranked in the top 6 in the country. Yet Ohio State is a 20-point favorite at home against Michigan State. That's just think about that for a second. That is just how far Ohio State is ahead of the rest of the conference. They have this exact same record. That's just how big the issue of lack of competitiveness is in the Big Ten and in all of college football. Ohio State, when you look at them, most good Big Ten teams have one real offensive difference maker. When I talk about the modern game of college football, we talk about this all the time. It's wide receivers, quarterbacks, and running backs dominate college football. The teams that are in the college football playoff every year, the teams that are winning their conferences every year, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, they have these elite difference makers on offense. And most good Big Ten teams have one. Michigan State this year has Kenneth Walker. Clearly, he's an offensive difference maker, a Heisman Trophy contender on offense. Purdue has David Bell. That's one. Penn State has Jahan Dotson. That's one. Wisconsin, when they were really good a couple years ago, they had Jonathan Taylor. He was their offensive difference maker. Ohio State this season and each of the last several seasons has 4 to 5 or more of these offensive difference makers. And when I talk about offensive difference makers, I'm talking about players that could score a touchdown any time that they touch the ball. Offensive players that could break free and go the distance on any single play. Offensive players that opposing defensive coordinators are scheming against all week. Again, Ohio State has 4 to 5 or maybe more. They have Garrett Wilson, they have Chris Olave, they have Jackson Smith-Onjuko, they have the quarterback C.J. Stroud, and then this unbelievable freshman running back Travion Henderson, who I think is every bit as good as Kenneth Walker, yet he's only a freshman. He's ridiculously fast. So that's 5 game breakers right there, offensive difference makers. So it's a stacked deck. The rest of the conference is playing with one. How good is Ohio State's defense? We don't even really know because they're rarely tested. They do have some deficiencies, but hey, when you're up 35-3 against Purdue, I mean, is it really hard to judge a team's defense? So the competitive disparity in the Big Ten, I think, is partly because it's accentuated with this division disparity. The divisions need to be realigned. All right, enough about that topic, but it needs to happen. Somebody help join me. Let's start a campaign to realign these divisions. Oh, to answer the question, how are you going to do that? Look, there's a lot of different ways it could be done. You could do it geographically with north and south. I don't know. It doesn't have to necessarily be a geographic. There's really no reason for that. You just simply put, Michigan and Ohio State in one division, Michigan State and Penn State in another, separate Wisconsin and Iowa, let the rest chips fall where they may. It's not fair right now. It needs to change. All right. Woo! Okay, Wolverine fans. Yeah, all right. Okay, let's talk a little bit about where we stand and a little bit of game analysis. We won the game. Michigan won at Penn State. We should all be really happy. We should be proud of this team. We're 9-1, way out surpassing all expectations. And Wolverine fans, if you're myopically focused on football and you still got your head stuck in the sand, let me help you lift your head out of the sand for a second and note that Michigan's ice hockey team is ranked number 1 in the country right now. They just swept Penn State. It's an amazingly talented team. You should really take a look at them. Michigan's basketball team ranked number 4 in the current AP poll. So that's right, all 3 major sports ranked in the top 6, 7 in the country. Look, it's great times for Michigan. We should be really happy. We should be proud of everything that is Michigan, and these are good times. However, I think we just want to take a moment to look at some of the game analysis and the legitimate complaints and coaching criticism that exist when you look at this Penn State game. First of all, why do we start so slow at Penn State? This is the 3rd game in a row at Penn State, 3rd game in a row hit in Happy Valley where we are just completely blown away in the first quarter. It's like we're not ready for the game. The game plans are terrible, and we're completely outplayed. We were spared falling behind 14-0 like we were the last 2 times, and 21-0 the last 2 times we played at Penn State, simply because of the ineptness of Penn State and the lack of Penn State having game-breaking plays from star players like Saquon Barkley and others. The reality is we should have been down 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, and that probably would have meant, I don't know if we would have been able to dig out from that. Very well, probably would have lost the game. But instead it was only 3-0. But again, why does this happen everyone was talking about it before the game. We can't start the way